for the first time in weeks. I feel good for the first time in weeks.
Hello and welcome to Show House. My name is Kura Chiota, and together we're going to be traveling in and around South Africa to find out what are the places and homes you want to live in. We're going to be answering your questions that you've sent us through, and we're going to be talking about buying and selling property and look at what amazing things you can do which will cost effectively improve the value of your properties. Coming up on today's show, we take you on a journey into the revival of the Johannesburg CBD. We look at a particular apartment that's for sale, and we see how we can help increase the property value by looking at some of the design elements that the property has to offer. We tackle the property questions that are keeping you up at night and take a look at another masterpiece that will inspire you. If you'd like us to evaluate your property, or if you've got any questions regarding the buying or selling of your home, email us pictures of your home and your questions to showhouse@thehomechannel.co.za. And if you'd like to join in on our conversations, follow us on Twitter @thehomechannelSA, as well as on Facebook using the hashtag Showhouse. We welcome back our resident panel of experts with Mr. Aidan Bennett, who'll be dishing out ideas on how to improve your home's interior by looking at the cosmetic elements to maximize its value, and Mark Banks, who is now a Lifetime Achiever Award winner in comedy. We also welcome Tony Ketcher from Seif Properties, who'll be our guest panel member, bringing sound property advice to the table. Tony, welcome to you. I'm going to start with you.
Thank you, Kira.
Tell me about what's happening with the CBD. It's been this story of decay and crime and grime decay, but there seem to be a couple of diamonds sparkling in the dust.
People are showing a lot of faith in the CBD. There are a lot of really magnificent old buildings, corporates that have moved out and moved to Sandton and places like that. And I think architects and designers have seen major opportunity to develop residential accommodation. It's got a lot to do with proximity to work, transport availability, and affordability as well. I think there are a lot of really affordable units that one can purchase in the CBD.
The idea of creating something new from something old with a canvas like an old CBD with buildings that go back hundreds of years. How are you finding that space design-wise?
Kura, in terms of the design scene, I think there's a lot going on. It's really, really interesting. Places like the Mamaneng precinct are seeing interesting pockets of gentrification, which are refreshing and rewarding, for people that live in the area, for architects and designers, as you were mentioning, and travelers and tourists who are also visiting the area.
I know you've achieved a Lifetime Comedy Award. I want to see the certificate because I'm not going to call you doctor or professor.
No, I do have it. I have it. It's with me. It's here. I've especially brought it in today because I knew I would be asked. That's on page 164.
Now, when you lived in the CBD many millennia ago, how did you find it?
Fantastic. I'd loved it. I've always liked living on the hub, on the edge where the pulse is, where everything is nearby, everything is within arm's reach. And it's like a city within a city. When the city finishes at 5 and goes home, there's another city that lives within the city, which I've always liked being on the pulse of.
Mark, was that the hub or the pub?
Hub. Hub and pub. And rub, a dub, a tub. And sub.
Tony, talk to me. The CBD has this character. There's a lot of affordable housing, there's some social housing, but then there are also multi-million rand penthouse properties. What is the nature of living in the CBD really?
I think there's a vibrancy. I think there's an element of excitement. You look at some of those more upmarket apartments that have been built. The views are magnificent. There's just a vibrancy vibe around the city, and I think a lot of people don't want the big gardens and they want something which is lock up and go. A lot of people who travel. So I think that's got a lot to do with it. And I think that, you relate back to New York. I think it's just one of those lifestyles that appeals to a lot of people. There's no doubt about that.
Well, I went into the city center to find out for myself. Have a look at this.
Maboneng, the development of Maboneng started about 5 years ago with the development of Arts on Main, which was our flagship and first development, which was basically it was built as a hub for creative, just a space where people could come together and a building where collaborative ideas could happen between different artists.
There's a revival of the city. And not just a revival, but there's a beautiful energy and a force that is actually coming back, whereby we see people live, work, play in the city. Young creatives, entrepreneurs are coming to establish themselves here. And what has been phenomenal in, like being in the Maboneng precinct is that, number one, it's not only a tourist attraction, but it becomes an attraction for even the local people.
What's really nice about Maboneng is it gives that neighborhood feel, and it's a very, very good opportunity for new businesses. We give a lot of support to young entrepreneurial businesses. There's also a hotel on the top floor of Main Street Life, and then all these ground floor businesses.
There's neighbor goods market, which is like really phenomenal. It's like on Saturday in Braamfontein, it's like a culmination of Johannesburg, or I would say Gauteng, because you find people from everywhere. Then on Sunday, we have the Arts on Main. You wake up, all you want is like good meal. You're gonna come and have it at Arts on Main. And then there's a beautiful salsa that happens at about 3 o'clock. I mean, this only happens in the city.
It's been dubbed a cultural precinct. So many of the attractions are cultural spaces. So there's a museum, the Museum of African Design. Arts on Main has over 10 galleries and artist studios that you can visit. There's a theatre, there's an independent cinema, there's live music on most weekends, and then of course there's the market, which is one of our more popular attractions. The great thing about Maboneng is that there's a cohesive plan for the area that stretches over 5 years. So you know that there's an investment into the full area. It means that the properties are sustainable and the area is sustainable, and there's a nice holistic plan, and it's all driven by one development company.
Having to live in the city is one of the most amazing things, because I don't have time to be sitting 2 hours to get to my destination. So I believe living closer to your workplace makes sense, because you get more productive and you get more done. That brings me to saying it's worth your investment into the city of Johannesburg, because I believe our generation, we're the ones that are going to transform people's minds, or try to say to people, it's okay to live in the city. This place, people call it a city, and I call it my home.
Gentrification can be described as an urban community moving towards wealthier residents and businesses. Typically, the result of investment in the community can spur other economic spin-offs, attracting other businesses and lowering the crime rates. The upswing of new money, new business in an area, good idea, bad idea?
Good idea.
Safe?
The safer the better. I think our biggest focus now, especially with city living, is safety. Safety is number one.
How important is lifestyle, like a Maboneng precinct or Braamfontein going on, the farmers market that goes on there?
I think it's critical, because I think at the end of the day, what it does, it encourages more community interaction. Mark was talking about safety. I think when your community is working together, they then sort of work together in terms of making sure that it's secure. It's an exciting place to visit. Friends come in, and that obviously will encourage business as well.
Can safety be made pretty?
No, absolutely. I mean, there's all wonderful forms of different technological initiatives. You can dress your security fences. You can do it in a tasteful way. It doesn't have to be barbed wire.
Thank you. It's when you see the car guards have guards, and their guards are being guarded by other guards.
After the break, we're going to take a look at one of our viewers' homes, which is currently on the market, and see how we can help to get the most out of that value. See you after this short break.
Looking for a new home in Malmesbury, Durban North, Linden, Parys, Ballito? We are the home loan specialists in every area.
Welcome back to Show House. We received an email from one of our viewers, Dylan, and he currently owns a 2-bedroom flat. His email goes something like this. It says, Dear Show House, about 2 years ago, I made a life-changing decision and decided to invest in my first property. Being 27 years old and single at the time, I thought that buying a small apartment with what I could afford was going to be the best investment option, and I went with North Riding. I shopped around and found this cozy little 68 square meter, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom middle unit that I fell in love with. It's got great finishes and even has a built-in braai for that fantastic Saturday afternoon. The complex has a pool and the gardens are really well maintained. The thing is, I've decided to pack up and move my life overseas, so I'd like to sell it, but I'm not sure I'm going to get my investment return as I'd originally planned because I've held it for too short a time. What can I do to make a bit of profit out of this property? Tony, 2 years in and out, he's looking to make profits. Is the market in that kind of a space that's going to reward him for holding a property for 24 months?
My sense is not. I think property prices at the moment have grown at just below inflation, in fact, or at inflation. So after 2 years, my sense of it is that he should probably even consider renting. I mean, a two-bedroom apartment in North Riding would be very popular from a demand point of view.
Aidan, as it looks right now, do you see that property having a rental appeal? Should he go furnished? Should he go unfurnished?
Okay, automatically there's a couple of things that I would change looking at the apartment. The first thing I'd do is I'd paint it back to, like a clean white palette. All those tan and brown colors, I mean, they might have suited him, but I think to make it a lot more universal appeal, just take it back to a clean white. Unfurnished apartment completely, which will make it look bigger, I feel. And then if you can invest slightly, there's some finishes that, are lacking. For example, where the wall meets the ceiling. If you can just add that extra detail in, maybe just put in some cornices, I think it'll really up the value of the property.
The fascinating color, my sense was that the colors were great. So,
Mark, they say that size isn't really an issue. Do you think it's an issue here?
I think size is an issue, and I think most importantly, when size does become an issue, what can make it bigger is that magic word, and I'm sure you've heard this, Aidan, mirrors.
Automatically, if I think, looking at some of the pictures, open all the blinds, let the most amount of light come into the space. Light always sells a space.
No doubt.
So when we're looking at the rental option, is North Riding accessible for people who are living and working in Sandton? Where are the main demand areas for people to live in North Riding?
You can go a number of ways. There's access to Johannesburg, Rosebank, Randburg, CBD, Sandton. Traffic congestion is always a problem in Johannesburg, but I think from a point of view of the norm, it's a good location.
Mark, I'm not comfortable renting this property to you. I saw the pool area, I saw the braai area. I know your parties can get quite out of hand.
No, I'm lock up and go. I don't need anything. I don't want anything that needs feeding, cleaning up after, maintaining. I'm lock up and go.
But
so pool, braai at least, but it's there if you want it.
But it's in the communal space, so you're not actually looking after it.
I don't know about North Riding. I've often looked at North Riding. That's all I've ever done. A lot of people ask me, "Do you like North Riding?" And I have to tell them I've never North Rided.
How does a man in the street know who the body corporate is, let alone how to get in touch with them, let alone know how to analyze the financials therein?
Well, if you're buying the property, it's really up to the estate agent right up front to provide the financials, provide advice in terms of the strength of the body corporate. And quite frankly, if I were a buyer, I would ask to speak to the chairman of the body corporate, or at least the member of the body corporate, to really get a feel for what's going on. It's so critical because I think a lot of complexes around the country where your investment deteriorates badly because the complex isn't looked after well.
I see a dichotomy in floor finishes for an owner versus a tenant. An owner can go with a laminate floor because you're going to look after it correctly. It looks nice, it feels nice, and gives a bit of an upmarket feel. But when you've got a tenant in there dragging furniture across it, it can be an issue. What do you see as the more sustainable solution for floor treatments?
Well, put it this way, a floor is always going to get used. So depending, on the tenant you're getting in, if they're actually going to look after it. I mean, tiles is always probably the strongest option, that they're going to last the longest. But if you consider the cost of laminate floors these days, and if you get a long-term tenant, you could probably afford to laminate the floor for each tenant. And I'm talking about a 2 or 3 year rental.
Also screeding. Screeding's very in these days, isn't it? Bare floors.
It's lovely, you just got to find the right supplies to do it, because it can go horribly wrong.
So guys, it's time to play Price That Property. The way this works is that we all write down a number that you would pay for this property and see how close it comes to the actual valuation done by Seif Properties. If you at home would like to be in on the game, feel free to tweet us, Home Channel SA, and use the hashtag Price That Property. All right, gentlemen, 3, 2, 1, price that property.
68 square meters, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms,
Sure.
North Riding, in a townhouse complex.
Correct. Northern suburbs, Johannesburg.
There's no garage or parking.
Carport supplied.
Carports.
Let's go to an ad break, and when we come back, we'll see who the winner is. We'll be right back just after this.
Looking for a new home in Jacobsbaai, Umhlanga, Maboneng, Middelburg, Vaal Triangle? We are the home loan specialists in every area.
Welcome back. So far today, we've taken to the city streets in Johannesburg CBD to see the revival of what was a sunken area. We've seen what kind of a turnaround you need to make a healthy investment, and now we're going to find out what Dylan's property is valued at. Gentlemen, if you could kindly reveal your numbers. And I got 950, I got 950, I got 950, 950. You guys are sitting next to each other. I think you...
Did you say 950?
Yes.
You said 950.
Seriously.
And I got
Without looking at yours.
180,000. You're the outlier
Really?
between these two guys.
Yeah.
Good grief.
Listen, next time I'm going to have you sitting opposite each other. None of this copy
No, I
video.
wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
No, we weren't.
No, I wasn't.
It's absolutely.
It's collusion. It's collusion there.
No.
You're the outlier. Explain why you think these guys are over optimistic.
I think the size is a big issue, and I think comparably you can find a lot of units for bigger size for less than 950.
The real numbers come in at 699. How are you feeling so ebullient to put a 950 price on it?
I think location's got a lot to do with it. Now, I wasn't being facetious when I said you come with the Cape Town mindset. I think a similar property in Greenpoint or maybe Rondebosch, given the demand from students, would probably get 950. I think that location is a big issue. It still remains a big issue.
You can give up comedy, become an estate agent.
Could. But stand-up comedy and estate agency, I don't think being an estate agent and a stand-up comedian, I don't think they're that divorced from each other, really.
The qualification, the income qualification to have a bond to afford to buy a property at the 700,000 mark, what sort of a number are we looking at?
You're probably looking at about 30,000 Rand a month income.
So that's
Joint, it can be joint.
Yeah, so that's a joint income.
Yeah,
The starter pack family get, or the guy and girl just got married, they can probably get towards that.
Absolutely.
In terms of modernizing the apartment, we spoke earlier a little bit about it. What are the quick touches that you would recommend, having you paid too much for it, but the reasonable buyer having bought it for $699?
Okay, number one, a fresh coat of paint. Number two is just upgrade the lighting. That can be done in two ways. It's actually upgrade the electrical fittings, and then look at opening the window dressing up. So possibly, putting in new blinds.
The bathrooms work for you? There was cobbling on the floor.
Yes, I quite like that. I like a sort of a rough edge bathroom. I'm a great splasher. I believe a bathroom you should be able to splash about.
The popularity of baths versus showers. I know in a lot of the smaller complexes, you're actually just going towards just a shower. Does that diminish the value?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because you'll find that the buyers who look at the property and they don't see the bath, they'll look somewhere else. I think there's a lot of demand for shower. I'm also a shower guy, and I think the challenge you have is when you have a wife who wants a bath and the husband who wants a shower. Then you start looking for bigger units.
So Dylan, thanks so much for getting in touch with us. We wish you all the best with the sale of your property and your travels. Now, many of our homeowners are just like Dylan. Sometimes we are unsure about buying or selling a property, and there's that question that you forget to ask, which could just be a mind changer. We've received a few letters from you, our viewers, asking some valuable property questions. The first such question comes from Sarah in Cape Town, and she asks this. She says, my husband and I are planning on selling our home. The problem is that it desperately needs a coat of paint, both on the inside and on the outside. But budget constrained, we can only afford to do one. Which would be better? Painting the outside so that when people arrive or they're doing their drive arounds, it looks impressive? Or should we let them come inside and be wowed by the newly done interiors?
My view is first impressions are always important, so paint the outside first. Once people are in the unit, if they like the feel of it, they will say, well, we can fix this. If they really like the unit, they'll go. But first impressions are important. You've got to get them in the door.
Interesting question. I think I'm going to swing the other way. The inside, to me, is where you primarily spend most of your time. That's what's going to sell the house for me.
Now, we've got another question. It comes through from Karine in Pretoria. She says, hi guys, I've attached a couple of pics of my bedroom, which I recently gave a bit of a makeover. I think it's okay, but not exactly what I wanted when I started. What can I do to possibly make this space pop? Aiden?
Well, gents, in this case, I don't know what you think. I think the primary question here is less is more.
Yes.
Without hurting the feelings, I think maybe look at decluttering the apartment. Also tone down the palette a bit and just pick one or two colors that are complementary to each other and use those as accent.
Speaking of doing minor renovations to improve the value of your property, let's take a look at our inspiration for the week.
Modernist architects of the 20s and 30s developed a style of architecture which was very much about creating a framework around which a structure is enclosed. The style is still very relevant and, thanks to concrete construction methods, offers unlimited possibilities. This home in Melrose, Johannesburg is heavily influenced by the modernist style of architecture and the use of strong lines.
The structure is very legible. You've got the columns and the slabs create this sort of big box, the idea of this floating box with these very big openings that concrete allows for. And we have what we call ribbon windows. So the windows are these very long horizontal windows as opposed to what we normally see, the generic small vertical windows. And that gives you a much more panoramic view out. And so the house has this very sort of modern feel. It flows in and out and it engages with the landscape in that way. And what I really like about the concrete is that it has this natural look. It's got this sort of like patina, it ages and it's got a kind of a visual texture to it that helps it to blend in with its surroundings. You can see how well the house fits in this garden and how it forms the perfect backdrop to the trees and the grass that are around it.
In addition to the structural elements in this home, Greg has used concrete to create pieces of furniture. This adds visual interest as well as continuity throughout the space. The combination of modernist design principles and warm, neutral tones creates a simple yet cozy environment in this home. It's a warm, natural space which will grow with the family and settle comfortably into its surroundings.
Owning a property is a magical experience as long as you make informed and wise decisions which can lead you to living in your dream home. Don't forget, if you'd like us to evaluate your property, if you've got any questions regarding the buying or selling of your home, email us pictures of your home and your questions. The email address to use is on your screen right now. For what's happening, follow us on Facebook or on Twitter. Our hashtag is ShowHouse. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sending through your questions. If you've got any more, send them through to the email address. For the team that we have here, we've put in the work. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Won't remember me. I remember you too. You stole my heart, so I'm gonna steal